Time to move into construction. So let's learn, what does an architect do when moving into construction administration? And what I mean with that is the project has moved in construction. So not only do you have opportunities to see your project being built in real life, you get opportunities to go on site and check it out. Hello, I'm Caitlin Rosier, a licensed architect and founder of Mentor. mentorDINO is your go-to resource for professional growth and development. In 2023, I launched this YouTube channel to share experiences, stories, and resources with you. But I need your help to be able to host live panel discussions, interviews, on-site trainings, and mentorship groups. I need to hit 1,000 subscribers to be able to do that on YouTube. So I'd really appreciate your support in hitting the subscribe button below and letting your colleagues know about this resource. Let's build a brighter future together. Welcome to mentorDINO. Now let's dive into the discussion. Time to move into construction. So let's learn, what does an architect do when moving into construction administration? And what I mean with that is the project has moved in construction. So not only do you have opportunities to see your project being built in real life, you get opportunities to go on site and check it out. So during this phase, we will have owner, architect, and contractor meetings. So that's the OAC meetings is what they're abbreviated to. This could be weekly or bi-weekly. It really depends on the speed of the project, how large the project is, and what type of issues or concerns may be going on. So during this phase, you may be able to go to OAC meetings as a recent graduate, summer intern. I usually recommend people bringing them along so you have an understanding of what the architect does. These are typically going to be listening strategies, but the meetings tend to happen on site, which also provides you opportunities to walk around the site, and you'll bring PPE with you. And that's all items to protect yourself. So you have a hard hat, you've got your vests, and you'll generally have goggles as well. I didn't have mine readily available up here. So during this, you can walk around the construction site. And as a young professional, I do recommend have questions ready to go for the architect you're walking around with. They'll be able to show you how to put together a field report, be able to ask questions, see how things are put together. You can also align your visits with different construction actions going on. If you want to see concrete poured, if you want to see them shoring up the foundations, if they are drilling caissons for deep foundations, if they're starting to put steel up, or oftentimes they'll have a topping ceremony for the top piece of steel where you may have an opportunity to sign the piece of steel, which is really fun. And you may even be there for the groundbreaking. So right before construction starts, a lot of larger companies do want to celebrate when groundbreakings happen. But besides the fun part of being on site and learning, what else happens during this phase? So during this phase, the paperwork side is we will be going over RFIs. So requests for information is what RFI stands for. And it's when the contractor has questions in the field, either about conflicts in the drawings, an issue on site, unforeseen conditions, which something nobody would have seen until construction started, or you ripped apart something in a fit out project that you didn't know existed, or something else happened. I know in one of my projects, everything documented by the owner's side and all the existing drawings, something looked like a shaft and could have actual mechanical systems running in it, but there were never any mechanical systems identified over there. And we come to find out that there was a raised brick fireplace in this location because the building used to be a hospital, and the hospitals in the early days were whole open wings with beds, and they would use fireplaces to heat the space. And so naturally, it was an unforeseen condition and additional add to the owner because we were trying to open up the whole space for a learning opportunity for them. So you never know what you'll find under construction, but this is a great time to learn from your superintendent who is on the contractor side running the operations day to day. If there are issues or something can't be done, that's where the architect will come in and they'll say, hey, we can't do your plan A for your basis of design. Here maybe are some options that we can do to still achieve that. Does that still meet your goals? And for you being part of all those design meetings that we talked about, schematic design through CDs, you know what the owner is trying to achieve and you are representing the owner. Sometimes we do need to cross-check with them to make sure any big changes need to accommodate. But if you have to lower a ceiling an inch to make mechanical work based on existing conditions, it's usually typically fine and they don't even want bothered with it. But if a whole room doesn't work and you have to do plan changes, that's a bigger conversation. We may also be going over change orders during this time because if there are changes in construction, it does usually cost money. And sometimes the owner is even changing things while things are under construction. So you may even be doing some redesign of the drawings to try to issue a bulletin to the contractor. If there are changes to the drawings, if you're in the bidding phase, it's called an addendum. And then typically you'll use a bulletin, or there's other cost per change options. You may have other changes that are done through a cost change directive. There's a bunch of different other terminologies for it, but you may be doing some redesign work on the drawings. There may be changes to the drawings based on existing conditions that you need to update. There are RFIs you need to answer. And then there are also submittals. And so this is kind of the checks and balances where I kind of give the example back to the US government, how you have the 3 branches and they all provide checks and balances for each other. It's pretty much like what we're doing with submittals. The contractor gets the basis of design document. They typically have the basis of design and what our drawing intent is, but we do have to give some other options that are approved equals. And so at this point, the contractor submits us what products they want to use, all the way down to the paint, the drywall, the sealant. We're going through every little component that's going into this building, and we cross-check it with our drawings and specifications. And if there's any change, or if they want to submit a change for a different product, sometimes we do have to cross-check with the owner if they have particular standards they need to meet. And this was definitely a challenge during COVID because certain products were just not available and you couldn't get things in time. And the contractor is in charge of trying to get the construction of the project complete by the schedule directed by the owner. That is part of their contract with the owner. So we try to be amendable, but make sure you're going through and cross-checking and even checking in with senior architects if something doesn't look right or different. It's never a bad thing to ask a question. And then later on in construction, we do what's called a punch list. So when the construction is close to complete, we'll go around a lot of the times with a tablet, your phone. We don't really do pen and paper anymore because everything's so digital, and we'll use the construction software to go through and check to see what needs completed. Is the ceiling damaged? Is the base fully installed? Is the window broken? Is the door hardware all there? Are the levers and hinges all there and working? Is it the right materials? Did they put acoustical panels in the right location? Is the carpet installed correctly? Are there any stains or damage to anything? And that is a punch list. So we go through with a fine-tooth comb to make sure everything is up to standard based on what's complete at the time. It's always a little bit difficult to pick the best time to do it because you do want it early enough that all the subcontractors are still there and on site to be able to complete the work, but you don't want it right at the very end because then you're up against the users or the owner trying to move into the space and the subs are away and not on site anymore, so it's harder to bring them back to complete the work on anything that needs fixed. So that's always a fun time. And you generally do go on site on a regular basis during this time, and it is a magical moment. No matter how much a lot of people struggle with CA, even I get a little bit burnout with CA, I do really enjoy seeing projects come to life and experiencing it and understanding the volume. And every project, you'll have new lessons learned and new things to take on to your next project. So I hope you like learning a little bit about construction administration and a little bit about all the other phases. Again, it's just a little glimpse on what we do as architects, and I hope to bring in some great guests so they can tell you what they do on a regular basis to give you even more information on what you could be doing as an architect. So thank you guys, and I hope you enjoyed this series.